Okay. Let me take this opportunity to to welcome all of us who are here tonight on Farmers of Thought. Farmers of Thought is a thinking space. It's a farm where we collectively come and farm our seeds, diverse as we are. The governance pillar is more focused on it's a work in a progress, but focused on a system whereby we look into who are we, how are we governed? You know, what system could be ideal for us to govern ourselves. And as we continue to invite speakers to come and empower us so that it doesn't only be one way or one word, as Baba Maponga is always doing a lot of speeches around. We are being delayed. Forwarding my apology. We are being delayed. The presenter Tate Mafole is not here. Can I mute myself and give over to you, Queen Marie, to share your preview, and then we take it from there. I'll be on a call with Tate Mafole. I'm gonna mute myself, and then I'm gonna give over to you. Is it fine with you, Queen Marie X? Queen? Okay, I was hoping that Queen Marie will come through, but just to brief you on what we shared last week. Last week's topic was about um readiness for change and preparation for collective healing, and that this Sematlane was presenting on such. He touched based on so many elements, including fear of change. You know, sometimes we get so comfortable doing certain things, of which it ends up not being that easy for us to change, you know, and move away from that which has been comfortable zone for us. And with my analysis alone, I will say actually that is the snare that has held us to where we are to date. Because in most cases, in as much as we would love to try to come out of the system, we are not completely ready to fully come out. We want to maintain it and come in bits and pieces. However, whatever that is, the challenge is that in as much as we walk in the path in that slow motion, um, whatever the other side they are doing, they are advancing and in a fast speed. With me, if I'm to nail down change and fear of change, um, I could make a practical example in terms of lifestyle. You know, so much or so many of us have adopted a certain routine of the current lifestyle. And it's so enslaving to us that sometimes even if we don't have money, you are so forced or pressurized to 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 maintain that particular status quo. And I've seen a lot of people going into debt as a result of trying to maintain that status quo in the fear of being discriminated or fear of losing their status. And that is why I always say this is the snare that is holding us back. It's not easy for many people to just go with the flow and adjust with whatever they experience in life as they journey through their life. And that is, it's such a problem that we are not progressing. We are not progressing. It's like we're rounding the same cycle. We are not getting breakthrough out of. And we keep on getting frustrated and more frustrated and more frustrated because we still seek solution from the very same system that failed us yesterday and today and is going to fail us tomorrow. We're not coming out of it and trying something else new and different. Currently in South Africa, to be specific, I've seen the price for petrol going up, and I sat and observed how the salaries were not increased to meet the the rise in commodities, you know, so that life continued to be so affordable for people. I have my opinion on that. That I believe that the universe is forcing everyone to change, to adapt to change, because we do not want to change on our own. And people under forceful circumstances are trying now to cut out on certain things, but it's not really easy because one of the challenges that are there when one is to change, sometimes I've set up a particular lifestyle. My children are used to a particular routine. They are used to a particular levels and standards. They're used to particular whatsoever. And for them to change, it's not easy because I never communicated change with them or the possibility of change in time. So also it's another element that I pick up to be one of the challenge we face as we are trying to change, because now it creates conflict because we never communicated these things in time. And as I speak to parents, I always try to say to them, let's teach our children to be flexible, to adjust to every situation, every circumstance, and expose to them as much as we can to different environments, so that they know that today, if it's rainy, it's rainy, and we adjust to the rainy weather. And if it's sunny, then we adjust to the sunny weather. We cannot expect it to be warm every day. Sometimes it's cold, sometimes it's warm, sometimes it's lukewarm, sometimes it's cold freezing, and so on and so forth. If we can adopt that from early stages as we build our families, our friendships, and whatsoever, our relationships, it could assist us to go with the flow as we go through our journey. The other thing is the fear of the unknown. In most cases, we are comfortable with what we already know. The fear of the unknown, I find it to be very, very, I will say, toxic to self, because it limits us. In most cases, when somebody wants to try out something, you will be like, no, you can't do it. It's not done that way, because we always expect everybody to do it within a limited cycle. And because we don't know how it is that side, and also in most cases, whatever that is limiting us is that we are told that it is not right, it's risky to be, it's having so much dangers. So we fear to try it and experience it. I want to make an example. There are sites where you travel, they tell you that, no, don't go down there. It's very dangerous, it's not safe. But what I've concluded as I came across such in most cases, I always wondered, if it's my people who are staying there, how come it is so unsafe for them to for me to visit that site, if it's my people? And it hit me so hard that I asked myself, if you are my friend, or you are my sister, or you are my brother, let me say you are my sister or my cousin or my close friend, and if I dearly care of you, what will transpire? Because if you are staying in an area whereby we declare it unsafe, what will transpire if you happen to be sick? Because I can send you money, but sometimes you don't need money. You need me to be there to cook for you, to tidy up for you. Perhaps sometimes it's so bad that you'll need me to bath you. So if I cannot come and see you there, and I've reached a point that I concluded that I'm not going to allow fear to govern me. And as a result, I will go to those sites and I will never be harmed. And that is where, in most cases, I've met beautiful souls. I've met our fellow brothers and sisters. I understand that our level of courage is not the same, and yeah, and others are not ready to try it in that manner. But I think I've tried to share two things in terms of trying to highlight the toxicity of fear. I think I can to everyone to share their observation on fear of change, the phobia that people experience, and the fear of the unknown. Anyone who loves to share something can come in and share. Oh, Ntate Mafole, the presenter is here. Ntate Mafole Sematlane is here. Let me make him the host and then give over to him to.
Apologies, I finally managed.
Make co-host. Ntate Mafole, I think you can share your screen now. and take over. Much appreciation for your patience, everyone who's been here.
Okay, man, thank you very much. And thanks to everybody else. Good evening.
I'm about to do something, I think, would an idiot do that? And if they would, I do not do that thing. White truth. The entire efficacy of this incredibly useful piece of information hinges upon your ability to pick the right idiot. I wish that whenever I'm about to do something, I think, would an idiot do that? And if they would, I do not do that thing. White truth. The entire efficacy of this incredibly useful piece of information hinges upon your ability to pick the right idiot. I wish there was a foolproof way to spot idiots, but counterintuitively, some idiots are very smart. They can technically misdirection. They can get promoted above you at work. They can even be elected president.
Mr Mafole, your screen is not on. Your video is off. I don't know whether you are aware.
It's off.
Develop.
I'm playing a video. I thought it was on.
No. It's just the audio that you're getting. It's not the video.
It's not there.
Of people who never saw the original Star Wars movies.
Okay.
I think you're off your video from your site.
Me?
Video itimile from lehlakoreng la hao bulela o buletse audio fela wa bulela. You didn't open up the video from your site. So it's not showing your screen.
Not. No.
It's still not showing. I'll tell you when it's showing. Kopa utume video, utumile audio fela. Video hawa YouTube. Yeah. It's coming up. Ntate e teng jwale he o tsweleletse he mara jwanong e bontsha wena he is showing you. I think you can turn it to the screen.
Are we okay now?
Whenever I'm about to do something,
thank you.
That, if they would, I do not do that thing.
Are we okay now?
Yes, we are. Thank you.
Of this incredibly useful piece of information hinges upon your ability to pick the right idiot. I wish there was a foolproof way to spot idiots, but counterintuitively, some idiots are very smart. They can dazzle you with words and misdirection. They can get promoted above you at work. They can even be elected president. If you want to be successful in this world, you have to develop your own idiot detection system. As part of the responsibilities of being your commitment speaker, I'm going to share mine. Sure, I'm naturally suspicious of people who never saw the original Star Wars movies, and even more cautious of people who loved the prequels and the sequels. But I admit this is not a reliable idiot indicator. No, the best way to spot an idiot, look for the person who is cruel. Let me explain. When we see someone who doesn't look like us, or sound like us, or act like us, or love like us, or live like us, the first thought that crosses almost everyone's brain is rooted in either fear or judgment, or both. That's evolution. We survived as a species by being suspicious of things that we aren't familiar with. In order to be kind, we have to shut down that animal instinct and force our brain to travel a different pathway. Empathy and compassion are evolved states of being. They require the mental capacity to step past our most primal urges. This may be a surprising assessment because somewhere along the way in the last few years, our society has come to believe that weaponized cruelty is part of some well-thought-out master plan. Cruelty is seen by some as an adroit cudgel to gain power. Empathy and kindness are considered weak. Many important people look at the vulnerable only as rungs on a ladder to the top. I'm here to tell you that when someone's path through this world is marked with acts of cruelty, they have failed the first test of an advanced society. They never forced their animal brain to evolve past its first instinct. They never forged new mental pathways to overcome their own instinctual fears. And so their thinking and problem solving will lack the imagination and creativity that the kindest people have in spades. Over my many years in politics and business, I have found one thing to be universally true. The kindest person in the room is often the smartest.
Wow. Amme. Okay. And then the smartest person in the room is the one who has matured to overcome, their animal instincts. When I came in, you were talking about fear of the unknown. That's the most fearful is the fear of change. And that fear of change, we need to develop out of through proper grooming in our early ages. And unfortunately, that does not happen. So we end up becoming the idiots that the professor is talking about. And we end up behaving in ways that are antisocial. We end up having the type of human condition that we have now, where almost everybody is looking after themselves, even though we tend to think it is the leaders. And we need to help each other to mature and to heal out of that. In addition to not getting proper rearing from our early ages, we may have traumatic experiences. Traumatic experiences inflict fear on us. We get stressed. We are always under stress. And stress does something to our brains. Because one, we have been wired, endowed with two broad emotions, as we indicated last time. The emotion of fear and the emotion of love. primarily for our own survival and the survival of the human species. Now, every time a challenge or a stimulus arrives or is presented to us or we meet it, it is channeled through two neural pathways. And I'm going to go quickly through this because we already talked about it last time. The challenge gets into the brain. It gets channeled through what I call F1 or fear brain pathway and goes to the fear center directly, the amygdala. And then very quickly to the primitive mind for our fear response. Fight, run away, freeze, or please whoever seems to be threatening you. And that is the current human condition we are living in. Now, that is natural. When we use this route too much, then we become antisocial. Some very fearful people in our life studied this, learned it, researched it, and then locked other people's brains. And I know most of the time we are talking about freeing ourselves as Africans, as those who have been repressed for a long time. But it is not only us who need to be freed. The very same people who we need freedom from also need to be freed. But remember, before they came to enslave us here, they were already enslaving their own people. And so even their people need to be freed. We have given a choice. And for me, that is the greatest choice for the human being. To choose between using this that can be dangerous when it is overused, even though it is useful for us, and the love brain or neural pathway. That is long and windy because it first goes to the higher thinking brain to go and check whether there are any solutions to what may appear to be a threat. And when it has done the analysis, only then does it send the message back to the fear center to instruct it to stop its panicky response. Because then it will be able to come up with solutions or to find solutions and to respond. And that is the awakened future that we are looking for. Awakening is the same, even though because of the fragmentation of disciplines and maybe even the segregation of theology or religion from science. Awakening seems to be something different from liberating ourselves, something different from decolonizing our minds, something different from changing our mindsets. Whereas we have actually been wired for doing those things in only one way. Whether we are believers, spiritual, or of faith denominations, the choice is between this short path and the longer path, which, pardon me, I will use examples from the Bible because I grew up in Christianity, but I'm sure people from other faiths can find similar scriptures in their own faith. In Matthew chapter 7, verses 13 to 14, Christ says that there are two gateways. He calls this short one in science the wide one that leads to destruction. And the other one, the long one, he calls it the narrow one that leads to life. And awakening means moving from the wide path or the short pathway to the longer pathway that is the love pathway that goes through our higher thinking brain and enables us to respond in ways that help us to grow, ways that are pro-social. And fortunately, this switch from the short, quick brain pathway to the longer one also enables people forgiveness. It enables reconciliation. It enables unity. It enables freedom, which are so elusive for our whole world. Elusive even for Africa, even though a lot of people are talking about unifying Africa. If we unify the army, we have one army, then we'll be able to stand up to the oppressor. But that on its own, not that we shouldn't have armies, but thinking of that alone is using this defensive pathway. But our brains are also divided into two. There is the lower cognition part of the brain that is responsible only for 10% of learning, which again is a choice that the colonizer or the enslaver, the one who subjected us to apartheid, took advantage of, locked our brains to use only this part of the brain and maintain that through colonial education. Whereas when we awake, we get access, switching from that short brain pathway to the longer one unlocks our access to the higher metacognition brain, which is responsible for 90% or more of our learning. And that, again, is unlocked by using the love brain pathway. And that love brain pathway is what I called last time when we talked, it's a program that I use that is called civil learning communities. But you can also look up other authors and experts from whom I learned. Look up Maureen. Maureen wrote for education, wrote a book in 1999 titled The 7 Complex Lessons in Education for the Future. But you may also look up consciousness-based education, because raising our level of consciousness is the same thing, is the result of awakening. When we become aware of new things, when we become aware in a new way, in a fresh way, of things that we were always aware of, maybe. But that is increasing our level of consciousness. So you can also look at the book of Griffiths. Griffiths is an Australian. He's written a book that people who have reviewed it call it the only solution that we need. And indeed, I agree with him. I have not read the whole of it, but we agree on one thing, that to change the human condition, we need to reconcile, we need to heal psychologically. Because as we have seen, as we saw in the previous slide, we are already wired for that. So that even though we may go in church and shout, I am born again, I am awoke, it is not so useful to declare that. What is important is to enact the awakening, to enact the being born again. But of course, it is not a very easy thing, because our colonization has accustomed us to this type of thinking and behaving. It becomes painful when we want to change. And therefore, people put resistance to change, because human beings are accustomed and prefer comfort and routine. When we awaken, we begin asking ourselves questions like, who am I? We want to be aware, especially about ourselves, our place in this world, and moving from that negative consciousness, which is the fear level, is only possible when we know who we are, but we also know who we should be. And we also know who the other person is. Because we are social beings, we thrive and we survive through collaboration. The other question that you will then be asking yourself is, how can I become my ideal self? In other words, you need to look at your ideal self and vision it properly, not for a second or two, half a day, but your vision, your process of envisioning should take time. You should also write down your vision of your future self, because when you write it down, it clarifies it more to you. Writing things down is like putting your brain on a piece of paper and then seeing it, not only with mind, but also with eyes. You also want to know why you are on this life. When you want to know why you are here, you want to know who you are, who you should be, then those are the beginnings of awakening. And when we do that, what happens is, and we do that repeatedly, we need process. That's the first question of my ideal self. When you ask yourself that, this is how I visualize it. This is your conscious mind, as we talked about. You start thinking about your vision. when you repeat it, it gets into the subconscious mind. When it gets into the subconscious mind, it also propagates into the universal mind, the collective consciousness. And the more you repeat, the stronger it becomes until it can become your habit. And how does it become your habit? When I know my ideal self, when I have envisioned my ideal self, when the type of circumstances or conditions under which I will be living, only then I want to evaluate myself. I want to analyze who my real self now is. How am I compared to my ideal self? What are my strengths? And where am I in relation to my ideal self? And when we've done that, you want to find the gaps between your ideal self and your real self today. And finding that is preparing for awakening. When you find the gaps, then you prepare your goals, or you prepare your plan, your learning agenda, how you will build your strengths and reduce the gaps. Next, you want now to start experimenting. Because let's remember, human beings learn by trial and error. That is what Scott Peck, in his book, People of the Lie, says. Sin is missing the bull, which we will always be doing. We will always be missing the bull, but we should learn out of the mistakes. But now we are threatened somewhere in church, even though I say I grew up a Christian, we are threatened with hell. Now, when you fear to make mistakes, you don't grow. So we have to be open to making mistakes, but not repeating them, learning from them. In other words, we need to be attentive and alert whenever we think, whenever we act. Once we start experimenting, we start practicing the new behavior in our learning agenda. We start building new neural pathways to mastery while weakening the old ones. And shortly, in the next slide, we'll be showing how that happens. But for us to do that in an effective way and reliable way, we need to develop and maintain trusting relationships of people who will help you, support you, encourage you, and also give you feedback on how you are doing on your learning agenda. And you must be open to that feedback. This is how the new behavior develops, how our new thoughts, how what we are trying out, experimenting on to become our ideal self.
Excuse me, I'm not able to see your screen. I don't know if other members can see your screen. I'm not seeing your screen you are sharing.
Are other people not seeing the screen?
There's only something like a video being played, like an MP3 video of 3 minutes being played. That's the only thing I'm seeing in the screen. I don't know if other people can see the text. They can confirm.
I can't see it either.
The screen, I think, are you sharing something on the screen? Because I can see your face. But the screen itself, I thought that you are not sharing anything as yet. You shared the video and that was it.
Oh,
Were you sharing something?
yes, I was. Why people waited so long?
Oh my.
Oh.
Can you stop the
So
sharing?
dark.
So stop sharing first, then now do a reshare again. So stop sharing, then go pick the video, share again, whatever you want us to watch. So stop first of all sharing. Then it will give you an
Yeah,
option
okay.
now.
Oh. Getting problems this side. This side, it shows I'm screen sharing.
No, can you now stop first of all sharing, then go back to pick the document you want us to watch. So stop first of all sharing.
Yeah. Can you see it now?
No, you are still sharing the previous screen. So until you stop sharing the previous screen.
This side, I'm
Okay.
sharing what I actually want to share with you. I'm seeing what I actually want to
I've stopped you from sharing. So now can you share again? I've stopped you from sharing the previous screen. So share the screen you want now.
I have shared. Are we okay now?
Now it's okay.
Oh. We won't need to go back to the slides I showed last week, is it? What do you think, Mel? Is it? Hello?
You can proceed, Mafole, you can proceed.
From where I am?
Unless you want, I think if you can maybe go back and show the screens, but then you proceed just to show the screens of what you were talking of, and then we proceed.
Okay, I'll go quickly through them. Problem is that now I'm at a bit of a loss. Are you able to
No,
guide
sir,
me?
can I guide you? On your sidebar, I'm seeing the screen written number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 6. Can you see them? On the sides, the
No?
screens have been aligned as number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6.
Yeah.
So pick any number you want. Like number 3, just click on number 3. It will come on the main screen. So click there, like number 3, click it.
That's not where the problem is.
Can you
The
click it?
problem
Just click.
I don't see how I...
Now you see it has come. So if you click, it comes.
No. No. I don't see how I play the slides, how I do the slideshow.
Now, up,
No, you know,
up there, can you see up there on your book? Oh, Coco, can you guide him?
Yeah, at the bottom, by where the zoom is. You see the bottom? Scroll to the right. Go to the right. Keep going to the right, all the way to the right, bottom.
Okay.
You see where the zoom is? After the zoom, there is a cup looking icon there. That's what you have to click. But that should be at the bottom by comments. You see where comments are? And notes, comments.
No, it's not showing.
Right. Bottom right.
Bottom right. The last,
Yes.
the last one on the bottom right is the zoom.
Yes. Go to Kalesting Umon. To Kalesting Umon. Only the can cap.
No, it's not there.
No, there are icons there. Those that zoom.
Pardon?
To the left, you see the minus sign on.
Okay. So very quickly, I was showing that we have been endowed with two emotions that are actually wired into our brains. The fear brain pathway that when we overuse it, as we are doing now, causes us the current human condition. But we have a choice. We have a choice to use the love brain pathway that goes via our higher thinking brain, and we are able to respond to situations without any panic. And that is the situation that we want when we seek to awake. And we said again that our brain was also divided into two: the lower cognitive brain, which is responsible for only 10% of our thinking and learning, and that the colonizers locked our brain to use only this one, and actually designed the education and even a good part of the theology to only allow us to use this part. Which is supported by colonial education. And what we want to do when we awaken is to get access to this higher thinking brain. And to do that is when we rewire our love brain pathway. And that gives us access to, that will help us, what will help us is to decolonize our education. And then that leads us to being able to ask ourselves higher questions of who I am, who should I be, how can I become my ideal self, why am I here? And those questions can be assisted. You can be assisted by you can be assisted by envisioning your ideal self and the future environment you want to live in. And we show that when you do that, the envisioning process gets assisted. When you repeat it and you are conscious of it, it gets assisted by the universal mind. In that, as you repeat, it keeps strengthening. And then this is the process of strengthening it. The current situation is here. Our toxic life. This is the way our brain looks like. It is currently toxicated. But where we want to go is actually to have the right crop that we want. We need to do a number of things: eat properly, listen to proper music, rest properly, and rest properly. And when that is done, we create a conducive learning environment, and then we can start the process, when we do it deliberately, of awakening. Doing that physically. It's actually like getting into the neural pathways. When we start repeating, then a protein gets generated that goes inside along that type of the rail inside our neural pathways and starts writing as when you write with a pen. If you continue repeating, it is like on a tree, that the tree that bears fruits starts budding. And if we stop repeating, then the protein dissipates. It is no more information, it becomes heat energy. And when you continue repeating, the bud becomes a flower. When the bud becomes a flower, the protein keeps writing on top of the earlier writing and making it more stable. And we said last week that we need bees as in our natural plants or trees. These bees cross-pollinate, and these bees they need an incentive inside. This is why even for repenting, even for awakening, even for decolonizing our own minds, even for transforming, we need incentives. In other words, this is why I recommended we do the process of envisioning so that we can see the actual benefit, priority benefits that one will get when they awaken. And the writing keeps getting thicker and thicker as we repeat until fruits start developing. When the fruits have developed, we need more time to detach and watch them develop. But in here, our work is to continue. When we are awakening, is to repeat, to keep repeating on a daily basis our vision and the process that will go, the steps that will take to build that ideal self and the ideal environment. And as we do that, we also need to do maintenance. That process, just watch. That process is like the process of washing material manually. You determine, identify the behavior that you want to change that is gathering. Then you focus on the actual material that you want to change, or thoughts or behavior that you want to change. You then what's happening here? And as you continue doing that, writing, have a look at what happens at this corner here on the brain that was toxified. As we continue with this process, that feels that the toxic begins to disappear. And you keep revising what you want to change and what you want to change into. And finally, the brain gets unwired of the old stuff, which is the same thing as when you think of cleaning your aprons, you are now getting them ready to be used. That is a process that is similar to soaking the fabric, scrubbing it, and rinsing it. And when you have done that, you continue to do that, then it is really awakening. As I said, it is like, it is actually increasing the level of consciousness. And when we increase our level of consciousness, as I said, we could have a look at how to do that in the number of methods. Hello? Are we okay? Hello?
Oh, believe talking. Continuing that. I don't know what happened.
The
I don't
the
know.
music is off.
Can we
Okay.
all mute ourselves, please?
So as I was saying, awakening, increasing our levels of consciousness will actually be seen in the new ways we behave. And people want to know, how long does it take? Some people think it can take the amount of time that a priest tells or instructs me in church to declare that I am born again or I'm awake. It can take a short time to awaken. For some people, maybe seconds, maybe an event that interrupts their lives. It can take days, it can take months. For me, it was gradual. It took a long time. I had an experience once in '95 that caused me to change my occupation and became a consultant. Later, I had a dream, an ongoing dream that kept coming and it being interrupted when I got to a scary place. Until in 2008, when I got to a place that I believed was the destination of the journey that the scary journey that I was taking. And in the morning, I made a decision to resign from my regular work because I was employed again and to follow the instructions that I had read at that destination. I then sat down and wrote down my ideal self and the environment in which I would be in and laminated it. And it's been like that ever since, which is this route that I'm on. And so for me, awakening is not an event, it's a journey that does not stop, because every day I continue learning, except I realize that I have to still learn a lot about operating this Zoom. But and colleagues, this is about what I think. I think that if we take this process even to church, whatever denomination, it would help people to awaken. The truth is that there are similarities in approaches from spiritual approaches, meditating, confessing, but then some of them are done in a skewed way and not completely. For instance, confessing, I know the Roman Catholic Church, when people go to confess, they go alone, they are in an enclosure, the priest is the other side, is not even seeing the confessor is not even seeing the priest. But in a proper healing situation, people all disclose to each other. It's a process that is not very easy. And when they disclose to each other, then they begin to see each other through different eyes, and they begin to trust each other. And then they begin that process that we talked about of repeating and rewriting the script in their genes. And that is what I prepared to come and share, that it is actually possible to use one process for all of these things, for decolonizing, for changing mindsets, not just to know the principles. I said I would advise my colleagues to go and read a book that I have not finished, which seems to be saying the same things. I'm not so sure that it talks about rewiring the brain, but statements in there that they are following are in line with what I'm presenting here, so that it is possible we can change the conditions of our life. Thank you very much. Apologies for the ineptitudes of managing the Zoom.
Much appreciation, much appreciation. King Rialeboha, we are very humbled. I think we can take questions and answers in that order. Myra, can you unmute yourself and ask your question? I think okay, you go ahead.
Thank you very much, Brother Mafole, for a very enlightening presentation. I just wanted to ask about the books that you've been mentioning. I'm sorry if I missed them. You said there's one that you're reading that we recommend for all of us, and I think the author is Griffith. Please, can I have the full title of that book?
Of Griffith?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. It's Freedom.
And then you also said another book called The 7 Complex Something of Education?
7 Complex Lessons for Education in the Future by Edgar Morin.
Thank you very much.
Next question. Anybody with any question, comment? I think we can.
Can I ask my question a bit?
Yeah, yes, you can go in, King.
Apology for actually interrupting by trying to set up the few issues that came along, and the recording.
Don't apologize for being helpful.
Okay, thank you.
Don't apologize for being helpful.
Thank you. Yes, in our class, of course, consciousnism, we've always been trying to reach an extent of somebody getting to their consciousness. And it talks about self-consciousness vis-a-vis consciousness. And then it says that you need to reach to a level of self-consciousness in order for you to be conscious of your environment. And I think this is very deep to it. And that's why I'm really appreciative of this session, despite of getting it a bit of it. But I really ask for the presentation, either the PowerPoint, so that I can learn how somebody can get to the inner level of tapping to the self-consciousness. Because to us, from the consciousness class level, of course, we take us back to the level, we take back to even us being conscious of the origin of the universe and so many other things that take us to materialist or idealist level to us. But I'll really be interested to get the recordings so that we can learn this. Because Nkrumah says that until we attain self-consciousness, then we cannot be conscious of the environment, then we cannot actually be able to be active enough for evolution. So consciousness and awakening of personal consciousness is a very useful tool, as our comrade has said, for us actually to work on our liberation. Without that, we might find it hard to work on our liberation. Thank you very much. That's what I wanted to say.
Yes, sir. What I will do is I want to apologize because last week I promised I would distribute notes on the presentation. But when I was asked to come and present again today, and I realized that I would be building on last week's presentation, I decided that I would put the notes together, but I will put the slides in PDF with notes, because the slides as they are on slideshow are are private property. I will share them later with people who will train as facilitators.
But that takes me to another question, sister. Sorry for this. That also the recording we are sharing or we are recording, we have never uploaded any of the recording, including even the previous one you did. And I've always asked for that permission, whether we can send it directly to you after the recording as private property, or also do you want to find that recording can be public, just that the document can be private? Also, that one will depend on you as a presenter, because this is your content.
No, the presentation can be public. It's just the slideshow. As I said, I will also include the slides in PDF with the rest of the notes.
And the recording, I think you will edit it, King, ne?
Yes, ma.
Big King, comrade, will you edit them?
It depends on how do you want it to be edited, because once I have access to it, you just tell me what do you want to be edited, then you can do the editing before we, because our recordings are always, of course, we have them in our Zoom cloud, but we always post them on our YouTube channel and share the links after we've done whatever required. So if you want any editing, you can either advise us on what should be edited so that we edit it before sharing the Zoom cloud. But at the same time, we can only share to the class like this Farmers of Thought. We can share with you the link to that recording so that you can download it, and then you as the Farmers of Thought can see whether you want to upload it or use it for your property. You see, we can do that because actually it's just that we are giving you the hostage for the class, but the content is from Farmers of Thought through our community. So we can actually share with you the link for the recording so that you can download it and store it as a property of Farmers of Thought content, or we can actually do from our side, download the recording, edit it, upload it on YouTube, then share with you the link. Just that is on you to decide.
Humbert, we'll discuss further on that one. Much appreciation. I don't know if there's anybody else from the floor who would love to ask a question.
Yes,
or
please.
add a comment. The floor is open. In absence of such, we'll be closing. I'll just make, I don't know, King Koko?
Yes, my brother.
If you,
Sorry,
I wanted
missed the first part of your session as I had something happening.
the reality is that you didn't miss much. Hey, we had so much of technical challenges. I think it was waiting for you and Kim Big Pig to
Okay.
to show up.
All right. So I think the question I have, if you hear me, the question I have that is what happens when we are constantly being negative about ourselves, constantly talking ourselves down or negating our chances or saying how bad we are? How does that affect our inner consciousness as human beings and as Africans? So for instance, right now, as Africans, we have been taught to consider ourselves as inferior to other races, especially those who have colonized us. And that continues to today, where we continue to look up to them for any solutions and never think that anything good can come out of Africa. So I think what I am interested in is to understand how can we reverse that, and does it have to be only a few people who are awake to that, or does it have to be the whole African continent?
May I come in?
Go ahead, sir. Thank you.
Okay. That is part of the consequences of repression or abuse, that playing ourselves down, lacking self-confidence. And the processes, as we talked about last week and previous times with those we've been together with, of building ourselves into civil learning communities, of unlocking our potential. The processes of switching from the wide gate or the short fear brain circuit to the longer love brain circuit is the process that overcomes that, because that lack of self-confidence comes out of fear. But you can also have overconfidence coming from the same fear, always wanting to show that I'm better, I'm the one who's right. So we need a balance, but the process is the process of switching, of rewiring. And the process that I hinted to of confession, when it is done properly, is part of that healing. Are we okay in that?
Yes, yes, thank you. Thank you, Dante. So everything boils down to recognizing that fear is just fear. It's what is being used to control us. Is what is being used to make us feel insufficient or inadequate. And hence, always look up to someone for that assurance, or looking at the colonizers for, for help in a way. So it's a fear, it's a fear of the unknown, fear of failure, I guess, fear of being by ourselves. So someone else is using our weaknesses against us.
Yeah, the colonizer will not help because they're actually more fearful. And the reason why they colonized was because of their own fear. So we have to rise up and do things for ourselves. We have to work together, and this process now needs facilitation. Maybe sooner than later we will talk about how we can arrange that. Already in the 1500s, Sir Thomas More, in the book Utopia, asked the principalities of the UK or of the English why they turn ordinary people into thieves, only to come and punish them when they have stolen, rather than to help them, enable them to be able to improve their own lives and life conditions. And maybe another set of books that I said could be looked at for this change of mindset and decolonizing of the mind is a set of books on consciousness-based education. If we just look it up, we'll find the material. It is of Mr. Maharishi, of the founder of the Maharishi University.
Oh, Maharishi Institute and Maharishi University. Okay. All right. Thank you, Dad. Over to you, Chair.
Much appreciation. I see 2 hands here. I think in that order, I would love to believe. Oh, okay, the other hand dropped. King, oh, it's 2 of them. Let me give first King Abimbolo and then King Thomas. I don't know. I believe I would love to take them as the last 2 hands. I'm looking at time because I'm targeting 10. Okay, let's give over to King Abimbolo and King Thomas after.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Yeah, let me first, unfortunately, I missed some part of the presentation, but I got in like 20 minutes or thereabouts to the end of the presentation. And from the wrap-up, I think we are talking about living a self-conscious life. Or maybe you are trying to relate the same things to how we as Africans can be conscious of our positions and also use that to propel us to be made patriotic and more responsible for our development. But there is a popular book, Purposeful Living or some sort of purpose living, and it has some form of religious connotation. That is for one to look inward, to search inward for that inner energy to propel one to live a moral and upright life. Yeah, it's the same thing that the religious people call the process of sanctification, redemption, and conservation, consecration, or whatever, however they put it. But I think the bottom line is search inward. There is another book that looks at it more from humanistic angle. I think the title of the book is the tipping points. Tipping points is the point where one is actually the level of growth for every human being. It comes through unconscious to confusion to conscious and then to self-conscious. We all go through infants, babies. We all live in a world we are not aware of what exactly is around us. But at a certain age, we start getting aware of what is around us. But at a point, we just be conscious, okay, this is what is there. Depends on orientation, depends on environment. What the society hold up for us to see as ideal, as moral. Then if we look further, it will come to a point where if somebody is actually a growth conscious individual, want to take agency of our life, it will get to a point that we will now have to look inward. We now have to examine whatever we've been told, whether the ones we read in our religious scriptures or whatever our parents told us, whatever our society owes up, we still ask as individual what exactly is right, what is right, what is best, what is moral, what is then that's why we come to this golden rules. Do unto others as you have them do unto you. So if by the time one gets through all this process, one gets to the point of living, what you do in the open will be the same thing you do when nobody is looking at you. When you become self-accountable. So you don't do the right thing because somebody is looking at you or some people are going to say something about it. When you do the right thing, even amongst us, within yourself, that is a level of growth, and then that people can come to, not minding whether put religious connotation or because some of religions have sort of contaminated this kind of principles, because like we rightly pointed out, the colonizers have used some of these religions in a wrong way, that even the religious scriptures themselves have been edited, have been historiographed to be wrong. So if you live by them, you never can be the upright person. I can tell that one without any reservation. The popular religious scriptures have been historiographed, they've been edited, they've been corrupted, so that their ideal is no humanity ideal, is no global ideal. Their ideals is been imperialistic into some culture, where, because it's raised some culture, because some of this religion, they thought of absolutism, when absolutism is not right. Absolutism is not right, because nobody can tell us exactly this is the creator of the universe, this is the unmoved mover, or this is the God, for those people who believe it. We can't tell exactly where this character, if the character of God exists. We can't tell whether it is under the ground we step on, or it's somewhere up in the sky, or it's somewhere in the air that we breathe in. We can't tell exactly where we are. So any religion holding anything up absolute is misleading people. So what I'm saying is that I would like to see this recording to see how we've been able to put this same self-conscious living into what we are saying about being awake to Africa, or being awake to Pan-Africanism. So that will be my contribution for now. Thank you.
I think Dr. Thomas, you can follow. King Thomas.
Okay. Thank you very much. I would just I don't know if the question has been asked before, perhaps, and forgive me if that's the case, but from the bit that I caught, because I also joined a bit late, there's one question that's been troubling me. Yes, we understand that we've been lied to, we've been misled, we've been brainwashed, we've been conditioned. With that acknowledgement in mind, what then makes one afraid or not still want to undergo the process of reawakening, if you will? I've been trying to, I mean, I know you mentioned fear earlier as one of the reasons, but and also fear from the colonizer, because one of my logic, at least, is that the moment the colonizers left their world, their country, their continent, if you will, exploring via the oceans, they immediately realized that they were the minority, globally speaking, because the world is largely brown. But what would make one today, an African today, not want to engage and go through the process of decolonizing their minds, and instead want to cling on to what they think they know? And often those sort of people that would be people that are more religiously inclined. I think, if that makes sense, that is the question in essence. What makes a person afraid to challenge their belief system, if you will? Thank you.
What causes that, as we said, is the natural fear of change. We are creatures of habit, so that we want routine and not surprises. That is why we resist to change. We were initially going to resist slavery and its indoctrination and colonization. But because they knew that we would resist, they used force. Now, we can't use force now. We have had to find ways of helping people to be ready to change. It's a natural phenomenon, this fear. And sometimes, because we have been used and cultured into a culture of being powerful, being strong, being macho. We feel ashamed to know or to have it be known that we are actually also vulnerable. But we all are, all of us without exception. The colonizers are very fearful. We have inherited the fear that they instilled into our ancestors. But they've also put in place systems of making the indoctrination durable in their education system, in the way religion is run. And so shouldn't be surprising when we know that we are actually created like that. And it takes maturity to be able to change. And it can start right at our earliest age in life, when we are not groomed properly to be able to embrace our own vulnerability and to be able to understand that as human beings, we actually learn through mistakes. We live in a world of competition. So even at work, even at business, would we readily want our competitors to know that we have certain weaknesses? Often we want to push them under the carpet. That's the nature of our being.
Dr. Thomas?
I am totally satisfied, May. Thank you very much.
Humbled. Humbled. Let me take this opportunity to thank you all for your time, most of all for your patience. You've been very patient from the beginning with all the technical challenges that we had. And yeah, I want to take this opportunity to thank you. We waited for Mr Sematlane while he was struggling with internet. And then let me take this opportunity to thank Mr Sematlane. Mr Sematlane, you know, today we didn't introduce you. As soon as you came,
that you met with, this thing that you experienced today.
Yes. I was just saying to myself, you know, King Koko should just understand if my mind is not on something, it's not there, you know. I'm just not into hosting, not this cycles. No, it's not my thing now. Especially when I have to host and then there's this and that and but I'm glad you come through, you know, and yes, he had his reasons for not being there. I'm glad he managed to join. And I'm humbled by your presentation. I'm mostly humbled by how you break down to details everything. You know, you make it so simple that even I don't want to use the word that is commonly used, that they will say the dullest of them all, but I will say even an innocent child will just grasp, you know, quickly. You know, even a child can grasp easily. I've picked up that one of the things that is the problem that we are faced with is that in most cases we don't understand each other to detail because things are not broken down to detail, and clustered comments, they happen to continue misleading us because we assume that we sing in the same song little we able to notice that the song is similar, but the melody is not the same. It's almost the same, but not the same. So I'm greatly humbled by that. Thank you very much for your time. For last week, for persisting to present today. Amidst all your challenges, I noted that you mentioned some few books. I will post it on the group. There's a link that Queen Marie, she shared some links. I've posted them on the group, and then I will be communicating with Comrade to get the link and post it on the group during the week. And I would love us to go through all the. I think I will repost also, or I'll ask him Gogo, either or, to repost even the previous presentations that we had. For those who missed the previous presentations, I will take this opportunity to thank King Gogo, the leader for the governance pillar. He never ceases to amaze me with his presenters. He's always having the best of all. Thank you very much for your time. Comrade, much appreciation for the hosting. And yes, for the warm welcome. So yeah, that's Farmers of Thought. All we want is for us to know. They say that the book of Proverbs says that the Hebrew proverb said, get knowledge with all your knowing, get comprehension. And we're just simply trying to get comprehension above knowledge, because we know we had, there's so much words that has been used, but because they are clustered, we fail to break it down to the simplest way that one can actually relate with, I think the question that Thomas asked, it's a $1 million question. Why are people struggling to break through? And I like how you put it. We are creatures of routine. So force was used to remove us from our routine, but we can't use force to restore or to heal. Having said that, I'm greatly grateful, and I think we've reached the end. Let's continue to think and digest. The whole purpose of Farmers of Thought is that after we have been reminded of who we are, that's how I'll always say Baba Waponga is a reminder, and so is his legs and Tate Sematlane. They are reminders. They remind us who we are. And when we have remembered, it provokes our thoughts to go back and search self deeper and deeper and deeper. And from there, then we remember where we want to be. And once we can focus on where we want to be, we will get there amidst all the challenge. Much appreciation. I'll never finish talking. I'm very talkative, and I don't want to keep you long. We've reached the end. Thank you very much for your time.
Queen, before you dismiss them, just to say thanks to you too. Thank you for stepping outside your comfort zone and covering for me. Thank you very much. And I would like to emphasize on what you said there with regards to comprehension. So the colonizers' education has all been about regurgitation of knowledge. And that knowledge, whether it's right or it's not right, we continue to do it. And you find that most of it is false knowledge, or knowledge about them, not about ourselves. So as we go back to digest, to rethink and remember. We have to remember who we are, and let's not be afraid. I think fear is the one that's stopping us from remembering or getting back to our original selves. Thank you, Queen.
I'm humbled. I'm humbled. I am, because you are.